aggressive with those Cyclones. He's just playing amazing with those offensive Cyclones. So you just have to have him on his back foot, get him out of his comfort zone, and do not let him dictate the pace of the match.
And that was the same beginning for the team of MLS. They're looking to push in very quickly and establish dominance on the pillar very close to AAA.
Yep, as you can see though, James and Enig's, they're staying very far back. They're just playing defensively. James is getting some preliminary dots out here. And, you can see great route there on Gasper from Enig, trying to keep him in LOS and allowing James to try to get some more dots out on him.
And HRK just chilling in a poly there, but they're going to play that position on the opposite pillar. And they know they're fine. They know MLS isn't going to push into that because they can get him out with the Devour anytime they want. And they figured, why even waste the cooldown on it? Just let him chill. We'll top everyone back off, and we'll come out of the gates with a plan here. They're going to pump damage on Lone Wolf. It looks like they're going to split onto Gasper there for just a second, who tanked a lot of it through that barrier.
That is a huge amount of damage coming out from AAA. It looked like they weren't even in line of sight, and they're all at half HP. So really just a ton of damage coming out. But MLS is going to be going hard on James Pett. They're going to try to get something going. And, once again, we're just at this point where neither team really wants to commit. They're just going to try to poke and prod at each other a little bit, see if they can make someone from the other team dip, maybe get some crowd control going before they push in and commit. Neither one of them wants to do something. But see, this is one thing I don't like at what MLS is doing. They get that poly onto HRK, and then they're not doing anything with it. Once you get that polymorph, you need to be pushing in and capitalizing on it. Otherwise, you're just wasting your DR.
Yeah, Lone Wolf taking a lot of damage right there, but able to get back out of line of sight and heal the full buy. Fascinate right there. Those dots are ticking for a lot on him.
Yeah. Gasper with the most random CS on a Nix I've ever seen. Locked him out with improved CS kind of early on in that fight before Lone Wolf took all that damage and pulled back. And I'm wondering if maybe that was a miscommunication on a setup. That was a push.
I think what he may have been trying to do is just prevent the hots from coming out before they got rolling. Maybe just try to get a little bit of pressure coming in on HRK out of that sheep, because we did see him frostbolt HRK after he sheeped him. So, maybe he's just thinking, okay, HRK doesn't have any hots right now. Get that MCS onto Enig, try to get some damage going. But, as you can see, Lone Wolf's mounted up. He's going to go in here and try to get Valkyrie Howl, maybe. And, great Nova there by Gasper. They have HRK stuck in the middle. Get sheep on him. Okay, here comes the cooldown. So they got to get Barkskin out of Enig's in his deep freeze. He's feared, but great peels from James there. And, really no damage coming out onto Enig.
Yeah, they are shutting down Gasper's cast completely. Enig's right now not too worried as that spelllock hits, and now the team of MLS is going to lust right there and put a lot of damage into no one on the enemy team.
I think that was just, Fascinate's feeling, I'm getting too far behind once again. They want to get the pressure rolling. Some big damage coming out on James here, but using the CS on James there when he wasn't casting, maybe to prevent the portal, I don't think that's the best idea.
Yeah, no, because he's out of it now. He only spiked a half. Maybe Enig's in a good position to get a cycle in here coming out of those hots and swap things over. And Gasper just using basically IV and Heroes and cooldowns right now to try to pump damage on that Pet. It looks like James Pet will spike, but not go down surprisingly through all of that damage. And LSD just sort of playing back. And MLS pushing for a second there, but looking kind of lost as they try to recuperate their losses. Enig's in a deep freeze, but Barkskin into Shadow Fury. And I don't think this is going to be a converted kill either, honestly.
No, they got the Barkskin there, so, that's something. I'm not sure if Enig really needs to use that there, honestly. I don't think Gasper was in a position to put that much damage into him. So now it's really just all about, using this window of opportunity, getting a setup on Enig, and, just capitalizing. They've just got to use this minute to get a good setup on them before Barkskin comes back up. And as you can see, it's 33 seconds left on that cooldown, so they've got to get something going.
And I know AAA knows how weak Fascinate is to the spread damage tactic. I'm really wondering why they're not capitalizing on it more. They're giving Fascinate these opportunities to top his team off when they really shouldn't be.
And I think part of the reason they're struggling so much with this is it seems like he's playing a Healing Wave spec, which is very non-traditional. Most of the top shamans that you see, such as Tenderloin Collective, guys like that, are really not using Healing Wave. They're using lesser Healing Wave. It's a bit more mana efficient. So, you can put out a ton of healing with Healing Wave, but it's going to cost you more mana, and that's maybe why we're seeing him struggle with the spread damage and also struggle with his mana.
We had a Hex and a Cyclone on top of each other, so a little layering CC problems right there. Lone Wolf down to half right now, and so does his pet there. Big heal onto his pet. However, Fascinate not picking up. Oh, there he goes. Has a couple big heals onto Lone Wolf and switches that Earth Shield back onto him.
Yep, he's going to top the Pet off there. You see the Earth Shield onto Lone Wolf as they put the damage into HRK, but he should be able to get back around that pillar now. And he's actually staying and casting in their faces. Not that concerned as Enig eats a spell lock, but they both get back around, and he'll be able to top them off, and they should be good to go. Lone Wolf caught into a Howl out into the middle of nowhere from the looks of it. He's actually rooted in the middle of nowhere and close.
Yeah, his pet may go down here. It's very low. It does not have Earth Shield yet. He's got to get that up if he wants to keep his pet alive.
All right, now they are going to try to...
His pet did go down there, Lone Wolf.
Oh, they did. Okay, now, but he does have that Feldom up, so he's going to try to make it around the pillar and summon it, and there he goes. He's going to be able to completely summon it without using a cooldown right there.
Yeah, mana is becoming an issue for Gasper, though. James seeing that, he's going to start draining. Gasper did pop a mana gem there, and I guess he's now getting a drink. But, I think that AA is doing a good job this round.
Nice grounding coming out of HRK from the looks of it. Stopping a lot of those cast balls out of Lone Wolf. That's not the first one I've seen.
Look at these Starfires coming up from Enigma.
Yeah. I mean, he's got to add in the damage also. Every little bit helps.
Enigma's tired of these games. He wants them to end. He thinks he's a Moonkin, wishing he could respec right now, but unfortunately he can't.
So we have, looks like Gasper is going to try to put damage onto HRK, but swaps instead and polys him. So there isn't too much damage coming out onto the team of AAA whatsoever. The team of MLS is going to have a problem right here with Lone Wolf's pet
is very low once again.
At 29%. But he's able to portal back. Oh, and look at that. Interesting choice right there with the portal followed by the fear onto Enigmas. But it looks like Enigmas is going to make it out of line of sight.
His pet may go down again. Urshield is on it, but it's dipping between 10% and 40% constantly. I think an interrupt on his health funnel may be able to kill it, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. Lone Wolf, though, at around half HP. Fascinating needs to get him top. Still no heals coming in. There's a big healing wave.
And Lone Wolf doing a great job of crowd controlling anyone who would be the people who would kill him. Because Enigmas wasn't there to stop any of the offensive crowd control out of Lone Wolf as he redrops his portal and he's back with his entire team.
Yep, he's going to mount up, going to probably try to go in, maybe get a bit of a setup. HRK came in, tried to get an Earthbind root, but whiffed it a bit. But I mean, they just have to get something going. Fascinates mana maybe becoming a bit of an issue here, but I guess we'll see. He's dipping kind of low. Gasper's also very, very low here.
Yeah, but this is exactly the setup that AAA needs. All of the spread damage, and now is when they need to push. They don't need to let Fascinate get back a drink like we've seen it so many times before. I think they can close the gap here, and I think they can go for a kill. But you see Gasper out there doing work on HRK, the poly into fear into poly. He's definitely trying to stay alive, like you said, playing to not lose. Not necessarily overextend here at all, but just play super defensively.
It looks like they're going to try to make something happen onto HRK as we see those Chaos Bolts and those Frost Bolts coming off. HRK might make it around the pillar, and there he goes. He's going to make it out of line of sight. And they decide to switch it up onto Enigmas right now.
Yep, they really just can't stay on a target too long. Once Enigmas gets those full hots rolling, it's very unlikely that they're going to go down unless, they're really, really low already. So they just got to keep swapping around, keep the pressure out, get Enigmas into a situation where he can't keep those free hots on himself and try to go for something. Yeah. He's into a deep freeze there, but it doesn't even look like they're going to go for a burst. I think they're using it to maybe get hots to drop off some other target. Gasper, however, taking a lot of damage here.
And there we go, the pet of James is down to half, but now is picked back up. But Gasper down to 9,000 hit points, but he has his shaman right there beside him.
As you can see, Lone Wolf's actually hiding his pet here behind the pillar, realizing that it's becoming a bit of a liability, worried that it might go down again. So he's actually just going to decide to leave it behind the pillar and stay there. It's a pretty good choice.
What's up, Hurricane?
It's a good Hurricane right there to stop the drinking out of all targets on that team.
That's what they need to do. They just cannot allow Fascinate to drink. He's just constantly drinking. So they just got to keep the pressure out, force him to stop drinking through damage, or they've got to get on top of him and just keep him in combat.
Yeah, I think even everyone topped off here. James caught into a sheep, but this would be a really good time for Enix to throw out one of those offensive clones. And as soon as James comes out of that, get the clone on Gasper. Let James come out and do some work with HRK, coordinate something. But instead, they're just going to hold back for a second, try to maybe strategize around that pillar. Not too sure. Random Death Coil catches Fascinate, but
Fascinate is separated from his team here. He could be in a lot of trouble. Lust is coming out from AA, realizing that Fascinate's in a bad position.
Well, Fascinate got back into a good position very, very quickly. There's only a danger there for a few seconds. No one was capitalizing on it. You see now he's back out of line of sight.
And look at how
Gasper,
quickly
however, is dipping quite a bit, and AA is putting out a ton of pressure here.
I know AAA with that Lust up right now. Of course, James does not have his anymore. But HRK and Enigmas both having heroism. I mean, that makes a big difference. Enigmas sees the damage coming and was shifting into Bear to stop a lot of it. But Lone Wolf is the person taking a lot of damage. His pet's down right now, down to 10,000 hit points. He's going to have to portal away and try to resummon decided right at the end.
To Feldon.
There's a Cyclone on a Fascinate. He's going to have to trigger that. Lone Wolf is still low. Gasper's at half health. Fascinate into another CC. Is James going to be able to get a fear on him and capitalize on this pressure?
Yep. And we saw that Death Coil onto HRK, which is really what stopped all that damage right there, followed by a Poly. So HRK not able to do much with his character right now.
Lone Wolf has switched over to Spell Armor, like you were saying, Isaac. And
Gasper extremely low here into an Ice Block. You know, as you saw, as soon as Lone Wolf brought that Pet off the pillar, tried to use a Spell Lock, some Devours, it died instantly. You know, they've got to be extremely careful with this, and, you know, he's just kind of playing scared right now. HRK actually pushing in there and attacking the Pet when it's still behind the pillar. So, you know, they really, really, really want to kill that Pet.
You know, HRK right now is the person who's going to be attacked.
But he gets Poly healed back to full. Just kidding. Spikes to 50%. They go in for the Poly. It looks like MLS is really just trying to play way too safe.
Look at this pressure coming out, though. Gasper may go down here. What a cut. There was just too much pressure coming out there. They started to get Lone Wolf to dip. Niggs came in with the offensive Cyclone, preventing heals. Fascinate was down to 18,000 HP, decided to heal himself, thinking he was the more obvious target. But Gasper taking so much damage at the same time, Fascinate was just not able to keep up.
Okay, so that means AAA is going to take the first match of the day here at BlizzCon. Yep. Victory over the Korean MLS team.
3-1. You guys are right, and you know.